This is from Sky News. 2 astronauts are stuck in space. How will they pass the time and survive until 2025? The 2 astronauts were only meant to be in space for 8 days, but now they might not return till 2025. Do they have enough supplies for such a stint? How are they coping mentally, and what is the day-to-day life like up there?
It's the plot of plenty of sci-fi films. 2 astronauts are stranded in space and don't yet know how they're going to get back. Sonny Williams and Commander Barry Butch Wilmore arrived at the International Space Station in June as the first crew to test Boeing's new Starliner, which suffered helium leaks and thruster failures before it docked, raising questions over how safe it is for the return flight. Boeing has insisted the astronauts are not stuck and said there's no increased risk in bringing them back in the Starliner, but NASA is contemplating getting them back on a SpaceX flight instead. They should have only been in space for 8 days, but they've now been there for more than 2 months and may have to stay until February of 2025. But do they have enough supplies for such a stint? How are they coping mentally, and what is the day-to-day life at the International Space Station? The ISS is 356 feet end to end, 1 yard shy of the full length of an American football field, including the end zones. The living and workspace, NASA says, is larger than a 6-bedroom house and has 6 sleeping quarters, 2 bathrooms, a gym, and a 360-degree view bay window. As you'll see later, it's not quite as luxurious as it sounds. Miss Williams and Mr. Wilmore aren't alone. They're sharing the facilities with 7 other astronauts from other missions, 4 of them fellow Americans and 3 of them Russians. There are reserve supplies up there to keep astronauts going for plenty of time. The space station has its own oxygen generating system, and about 50% of oxygen exhaled from carbon dioxide is recovered. As for water, the station has a urine into drinking water recycling system, and a part of that system also captures moisture released into the cabin air from the crew's breath and sweat. Food supplies are a bit fancier. Meals are created at NASA's Space Food Systems Laboratory in Houston, where chefs focus on making food appetizing as well as nutritious. Much of it is dehydrated, meaning it has to be filled up with water before being consumed, while some is ready-made and just need to be heated. There's meat. Barbecued beef brisket is one example of a meal on offer. Eggs, vegetables, bread, savory snacks, and sweet treats in this station's kitchen. But how do you use a toilet in zero gravity? The spacecraft regularly receives more supplies from Earth, with the last one arriving on August 6th. Launched on a rocket from Kazakhstan on May 30th, the supplies included about 3 tons of food, fuel, and other supplies for Miss Williams, Mr. Wilmore, and 7 other crew members on board. The crew can essentially place their orders for what they want to come on these crafts by speaking to Mission Control ahead of launches. That was good news for Mr. Wilmore and Miss Williams, who were forced to ditch their personal suitcases before taking off in June to make room for extra equipment, meaning they've had to wear spare clothes that were already at the ISS upon arrival. The difference is there are 2 separate tubes to go in, one for urine and one for poo. The urine one, which is colored yellow, is attached to the wall and almost looks like a vacuum cleaner, and fittingly, it has a suction function to prevent gravity from causing a mess. The tube for poo looks like more of a typical toilet, with a seat too, though you have to hold onto a handle on the wall next to it to avoid floating away as you go. On the bright side, there's about half a dozen types of toilet paper stuffed into bags on the toilet walls, including wet wipes and disinfectant wipes in case things don't go correctly, as Miss Williams put it. Astronauts are also each given toiletry kits that come with things like a toothbrush and toothpaste, which you have to either swallow or spit into a tissue, and a hairbrush, which Miss Williams says is pointless in space because gravity constantly keeps your hair upright. Remarkably, you can sleep on the floor, on the wall, or on the ceiling. That's because without gravity, the crew never feel like they're lying down. It makes no difference whether they are on the floor, standing up, or upside down. It all feels the same. You know what? I would be in trouble because I'd be like, you know what? Night-night.
I would never sleep.
I would always sleep.
I would go crazy on the ISS.
It strap you down to the wall so you can sleep.
Yeah.
So the ISS has sleeping stations about the size of phone booths that the crew get into, which consist of a sleeping bag and a pillow on the floor, wall, and ceiling. They're both retired Navy captains and longtime NASA astronauts who already have long space station missions behind them. Mr. Wilmore, 61, and Miss Williams, 58, said going into this test flight that they expected to learn a lot about Starliner and how it operates. At their only news conference from space in July, they assured reporters they were keeping busy, helping with repairs and research, and expressed confidence in all the Starliner testing going on behind the scenes. There are tests going on back on Earth to determine whether the Boeing craft can still be used safely to bring them back. That mantra you've heard, failure is not an option, that's why we are staying here now, Mr. Williams said last month. We trust that the tests that we are doing are the ones we need to do to get the right answers, to give us the data that we need to come back. There's been no public word from them yet on the prospects of an 8-month stay. As it stands, all but one of the Starliner's 5 failed thrusters have been reactivated in orbit. Ouch. Tests are currently being done on Earth to try to remedy the problems seen in space, but engineers aren't sure exactly what's causing them, and are also trying to plug helium leaks in Starliner's propulsion system, which is crucial for maneuvering. That kind of backs up where I was saying like they should have their own people that build their spacecrafts, because then they would have an engineer who created it on hand, who knew exactly what was wrong and how to fix it. Or there wouldn't be a problem in the first place.
Everything being uniform would probably be good.
Yeah. Boeing has reiterated its capsule could still safely bring the astronauts home, but the company will need to modify Starliner software in case it has to return without a crew. Yeah, because they didn't get the Starliner to space with an unmanned crew for the longest time because they were doing shit with the software and it kept messing up. I would be like, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Ken Bowersox, NASA's Space Operations Mission Chief, has suggested coming home on the same aircraft is still an option. Mr. Bowersox said during a recent meeting they heard from a lot of folks that had concerns and the decision was not clear. The SpaceX flight they would get on instead would leave Earth in September, but 2 astronauts scheduled to be on it would have to stay home to make room for Miss Williams and Mr. Wilmore. Why are we sending more people up in the first place when we already have people stuck? That doesn't make sense to me. Why would you send more people up there when you can't even bring your people back home?
The more the merrier.
Did they decide that how they're going to bring the ISS down to take it apart now is just fill it full of people and hope that gravity just brings it down? Like, is that what's going on now? Like, I don't understand. Why the fuck would you send more people? A decision is expected in the next week or so. Russian Valery Polyakov set that record in the mid-1990s, spending 437 days off Earth. Last year, NASA astronaut Frank Rubio came back from a 371-day trip. That trip, much like this one, was prolonged by technical difficulties and was only meant to take 6 months, obviously. And then you give Boeing more money to create more flying crafts.
We just gave them another $2 billion contract.
Like, here's $2 billion. You can't bring our people home. Your planes keep failing and people are dying, but we want you to make planes for us.
You refuse to do safety inspections.
Or you bribe people.
Kill people.
Or kill them, yes.
Or just kill them. Yeah. Failing upwards. That's what the incentive is.
It's just...
And what about the astronauts? They're scared. You know they're scared. They gotta put on the face or whatever when the cameras are on, but when they're off, they're like, fucking Boeing.
Well, not just that, but like it was supposed to be just a little 8-day trip. Now they're going to miss, like I said before, who knows how many birthdays or anniversaries between now and then. They're going to miss Thanksgiving with their family, Halloween with their family, Christmas with their family, New Year's with their family. They're going to miss all these things. They were only supposed to be there 8 days, and now they're going to lose a lot of their life back on Earth. You know what I mean?
Because Boeing is
ridiculous.
Incompetent.
It wouldn't surprise me if the other thrusters just never worked in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just...
yeah. It's frustrating.
It's very frustrating, and I feel very bad for
I need a $2 billion contract. I feel a lot of things, guys.
For a project that you'll claim will be ready in 2028, but when 2028 comes, we all fucking know they're going to be having technical difficulties at that time and needing an extension because they wouldn't have even fucking started on it.
Yeah.
I hope they go bankrupt first. I hope they go bankrupt. Oh, they're going to bail them out. What am I talking about? Yeah. Boeing, don't tell us.